My beloved child, listen closely. This message did not reach you by accident. Before your eyes found these words, a silent decision had already been made in the unseen. There is a person right now whose heart is heavy in a way they cannot explain. They smile when spoken to, yet inside them something is trembling. They feel forgotten, overlooked, and quietly unsure if anyone would notice if they stopped trying. You were chosen because your spirit still listens. You still feel things deeply. You still pause when others rush past. God says this clearly: you crossed their path for a reason that goes far beyond coincidence. Not because you are perfect, not because you have everything figured out, but because you carry something rare in this world: attention, compassion, and timing. This person does not need money. They do not need advice. They do not need a long speech. They need presence. They need reassurance without judgment. They need to feel seen by someone who was sent, not assigned. You may already know who this is, or their face may rise in your thoughts later today, suddenly and gently. When that happens, do not dismiss it. God says the help they need is small in action, but massive in impact. A message, a check-in, a moment of listening without interrupting. What you offer will not look dramatic to the world, but in their life, it will arrive at the exact second hope was starting to fade. You were chosen because you understand quiet struggles. You know what it feels like to carry strength on the outside while questions echo inside. You know how one kind moment can change the weight of an entire day. This is not pressure. This is purpose. God says when you act, even gently, something unseen will shift. Not only for them, but for you. Because when you step into why you were chosen, clarity begins to follow. Stay with this message. There is more being revealed. There is something you have not been told yet. This is the part most people never hear, because they scroll away before it arrives. God says the reason you feel this message so strongly is because the timing is fragile. Not urgent in fear, urgent in meaning. The person who needs your help has been asking questions in silence. Questions they do not say out loud. Questions like, does anyone truly care? Questions like, is there a reason I am still here? And here is the shocking truth. Your simple presence is the answer they have been waiting for. Not tomorrow, not someday, sooner than you think. God says when you reach out, you interrupt a negative story they have been telling themselves. A story that says they are invisible. A story that says they are alone. A story that says their efforts do not matter. You were chosen because your voice carries calm, even when you say very little. Even when you do not realize it. This is not about being dramatic. This is about being real. One sincere moment from you will stay with them longer than 100 empty conversations with others. They will remember how you made them feel safe to breathe again. God says do not overthink what to say. Your authenticity is already enough. Your timing is already aligned. And here is what most people never expect. When you help them, something quietly unlocks inside you as well. A heaviness you have carried without a name begins to loosen. A clarity you have been searching for starts to form. This connection is not random. It is designed to remind both of you that you are not forgotten. That kindness still moves unseen mountains. That being chosen does not always look loud. It looks intentional. Stay here. The next part reveals what happens after you take this step. Something important is unfolding right now, and most people will miss it. But you did not. God says there is a moment approaching where silence will no longer protect this person. They are standing at an invisible edge, pretending everything is fine, while inside they are asking a question they are afraid to speak out loud. Does anyone truly care if I keep going? This is why you were chosen. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. You are not meant to fix their life. You are meant to interrupt their loneliness. God says they have been giving signs without realizing it. Their energy has changed. Their words sound lighter, but their pauses are heavier. They laugh, yet their eyes wait for something. That something is not a miracle from the sky. It is a connection through you. Here is the shocking truth most people never hear. Heaven does not always send answers. Sometimes it sends people. You are that person. Your presence is not random. Your timing is not late. Your instinct to watch this message until now proves you are sensitive to divine alignment. God says the moment you reach out, a chain reaction begins. Fear loosens. Breath becomes easier. The weight on their chest softens. And something else happens. What you do for them quietly opens a door for you. Not immediately, not loudly, but unmistakably. You have been wondering why certain delays happened in your own life. Why things slowed down when you expected speed. God says this is part of the answer. When you help without being asked, alignment returns. When you show up without being seen, doors start remembering your name. This person does not need your strength. They need your sincerity. God says even a short moment of your attention will echo longer than you realize. Years from now, they will remember the day someone showed up when no one else noticed the struggle. That day is close. Closer than you think. Do not rush past this message. The next part reveals what happens after you act. Pause for a moment. Because what you are about to hear is not comforting. It is clarifying. God says the reason this person needs your help now is because a door is closing quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Silently. They are at the edge of deciding something they have not spoken out loud. They are weighing whether their effort still matters. Whether their presence still has value. Whether anyone would notice if they chose distance instead of connection. This is why timing matters more than words. God says you were chosen not to fix their life, but to interrupt a conclusion they are about to make. A conclusion that says, I am alone in this. A conclusion that is not true. What shocks most people is this: the smallest delay could change everything. And the smallest action could save something you will never fully see. You are not late. You are not early. You are exact. God says when you reach out, they will not immediately show emotion. They may brush it off. They may change the subject. Do not misread that. Inside them, something will loosen. A breath they have been holding will finally release. And later, when they are alone, they will remember that someone noticed. That moment will matter more than you realize. This is why you were chosen. Because your presence carries safety, not pressure. Because your kindness does not demand explanation. Because you know how to be gentle without being weak. God says this assignment was not given to many. It was given to you because you would not make it about yourself. You would not seek credit. You would simply show up. And here is the revelation most people never hear. When you help them, something locked in your own life begins to move. Clarity replaces confusion. Peace replaces restlessness. Direction replaces doubt. Not as a reward, but as alignment. Remember this. Some miracles arrive loudly. Others arrive disguised as simple choices. This is one of those moments. This is where the meaning becomes unmistakable. God says the reason you were chosen is now activating. There is a turning point approaching for that person you were meant to help. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, precise, and life-altering. They are standing at the edge of a decision they have not spoken out loud. They are questioning their worth, their direction, and whether continuing even matters. What they choose next will shape years, not days. God says your presence becomes the interruption. Not an interruption of chaos, but of despair. You are not meant to rescue them. You are meant to remind them. Remind them that they are not invisible. Remind them that timing still works in their favor. Remind them that someone noticed before it was too late. This is why the urgency was placed on this message. Not to frighten you, to prepare you. God says when you step forward, even with trembling hands, something ancient aligns. Doors that felt locked loosen. Thoughts that felt heavy lift. Breathing becomes easier for them without them knowing why. This is how purpose moves, softly, powerfully, without announcement. You may never hear them say thank you. You may never fully understand what your action prevented. But heaven records obedience, not applause. God says your kindness does not return empty. What you give in this moment circles back multiplied, timed for when you will need it most. This is not coincidence. This is not imagination. This is alignment. Stay present. Stay aware. The reason you were chosen is still unfolding. Stay still for a moment. What you are hearing now is not comfort. It is confirmation. God says the reason this message keeps holding your attention is because the moment is closer than you think. The help you were chosen to give is not distant. It is unfolding quietly, already moving toward you. There is a person who has been asking questions in silence. Not out loud, not to others, but in the deep place where honesty lives. They asked if anyone truly notices. They asked if their effort matters. They asked if their life has meaning beyond survival. God says your presence will answer those questions without words. This is why distractions tried to pull you away earlier. This is why time felt strange today. This is why you felt a pause inside, even when everything around you kept moving. You were not chosen to fix their life. You were chosen to interrupt their despair. One interaction will soften something that has been hard for too long. One moment will remind them they are not invisible. One act will arrive exactly when they were preparing to withdraw. God says do not underestimate timing. What feels ordinary to you will feel extraordinary to them. You may feel unprepared. You may wonder if you are enough. That doubt is not a signal to stop. It is proof you care. God does not choose loud people for quiet miracles. He chooses attentive ones. What is about to happen will not be dramatic, but it will be remembered, by them, and by you. Stay with this. The reason will soon be unmistakable. Pause for a moment. Before you move on, before you scroll, before your mind drifts, listen. God says something has been unfolding quietly because it needed the right moment to be revealed. This is that moment. The person who needs your help is closer than you think. Not distant. Not hidden across the world. Close enough to feel familiar, yet far enough to be misunderstood. They have been carrying a question they never say out loud. Does anyone truly notice me? Would it matter if I stayed silent? God says your role was never loud. It was never dramatic. It was intentional. You were chosen because your presence calms storms without announcing itself. Because your words arrive softly but stay forever. Because when you listen, people feel safe enough to breathe. This is the shocking truth. At the exact time they almost gave up on reaching out, your name passed through their thoughts. Not as a plan, as a hope. God says timing is not random. The delay was protection. The silence was preparation. What you are about to do, or say, will redirect a path that was quietly breaking. One moment of connection will interrupt a chain of doubt that has been growing for months. You may think your gesture is small. God says it is perfectly sized. There are moments that never make noise but change everything. This is one of them. Do not overthink it. Do not wait for a better sign. You are the sign. God says when you step forward with sincerity, something inside you will also unlock. A weight you never named will lift. A clarity you have been seeking will begin to form. This message is not ending. It is deepening. Stay present. What comes next was meant only for those who stayed. Pause for a moment. What you are feeling right now is not curiosity. It is recognition. God says this message is not repeating itself by chance. It keeps finding you because you keep being needed. The person you were chosen to help is closer than you think. Not distant, not hidden. They are within reach of your voice, your words, your attention. They have been holding themselves together in silence, doing what is expected, showing strength where none is left, waiting for a sign that they matter more than they show. And here is the revelation that changes everything. God says they prayed without words, not on their knees, not out loud, but in the quiet space where exhaustion lives. That prayer was answered with you. You were chosen because you will not rush past their pain. You will not minimize it. You will not turn it into a lesson or a story. Your presence alone becomes the proof that they were heard. God says when you step forward, something breaks open. A weight lifts. A thought softens. A future that felt sealed suddenly breathes again. This is why you must not ignore the nudge. This is why this message insists on staying with you. Because delay would cost more than action ever could. You are not being asked to rescue. You are being asked to remind. Remind them they are not invisible. Remind them they are not alone. Remind them that help can arrive through human hands. God says the moment you choose to act, alignment begins. Doors shift quietly. Answers start forming. And what you have been waiting for begins moving toward you as well. This is how purpose works. It moves through people willing to listen. And today, that person is you. Stay present. There is still more unfolding. Pause for a moment. What you are hearing right now is not comfort. It is confirmation. God says the reason this message still holds your attention is because something critical is unfolding quietly around you. Not loudly, not publicly, but with precision. There is a person whose path is entangled with yours in ways you cannot yet see. They are not weak. They are not broken. They are exhausted from holding everything together without being understood. God says this person reached a moment where silence felt safer than asking for help. That is where you come in. You were chosen because you notice shifts others ignore. You feel when something is off even when words sound normal. You sense absence even in crowded rooms. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. God says the help you bring will interrupt a downward spiral that was never meant to continue. Your presence will arrive before regret does, before loss becomes permanent, before hope disappears completely. What makes this once in a lifetime is not the act itself. It is the timing. Many could have helped, but you are the one who will. Because your heart is positioned correctly right now. God says do not overthink how to help. Do not plan a perfect moment. Do not wait for certainty. The power is in the immediacy, the sincerity, the choice to show up without needing credit. When you act, something unseen will release. A burden will lift. A future will quietly change direction. And here is the revelation meant only for you. As you help them, clarity you have been seeking will begin to form. Answers you were not chasing will start finding you. God says this is how purpose works. It reveals itself while you are serving, not while you are waiting. Stay with this. Because what comes next explains why you were prepared long before you realized it. Pause for a moment. Not because the message is ending, but because this is the moment where everything becomes personal. God says the reason this has stayed with you until now is because you are closer to the truth than you realize. Most people leave early. Most people scroll away. But you stayed, because something inside you recognized itself in these words. There is a person connected to your destiny who is standing at a quiet breaking point. Not visible, not dramatic, but real. They are not asking loudly for help. They are asking silently through exhaustion, through hesitation, through the way they keep saying, "I'm fine," when they are not. And God says this clearly: if you do nothing, the moment will pass. If you act, even gently, the timeline will change. This is not about saving someone. This is about reminding them that they matter. You were chosen because you will not overpower them. You will not judge them. You will not turn their pain into a lesson. You will simply arrive with sincerity. God says the shock is not what will happen to them. The shock is what will happen to you. When you step forward, a door you have been waiting on will quietly unlock. Not immediately, not loudly, but undeniably. What you give becomes what returns. Not as a reward, as alignment. This is why your heart felt heavy at the beginning of this message. This is why it feels steady now. This is why you feel calm but alert. God says remember this moment. Because later, when things begin to shift, you will look back and realize this was the turning point. The moment you were trusted. The moment you were chosen on purpose. Do not forget how this feels. Clarity has a feeling, and you are in it now. Pause for a moment. Do not rush past this. This part is meant to reach you when your mind is quiet enough to hear it. God says something is happening behind the scenes that you cannot yet see, but you can feel it. That slight pressure in your chest. That sense that something important is unfinished. That awareness that someone, somewhere, is waiting. This is not imagination. This is alignment. There is a person connected to your destiny who is standing at a breaking point, and they do not know how to ask for help. They have rehearsed conversations in their head that they never spoke out loud. They have asked silent questions at night, wondering if anyone would notice their absence. God says your name came into their thoughts unexpectedly, not because of something you recently did, but because of who you are when no one is watching. You were chosen because your heart carries weight. When you speak, it lands. When you listen, it heals. This person does not need to hear perfect words. They need to feel that someone cares enough to stay, to not rush them, to not fix them, to not disappear. God says the timing is critical now. What you do next will echo longer than you realize. A simple act of kindness will interrupt a chain of doubt that has been growing for far too long. Do not underestimate this moment. Heaven never moves randomly. If you are here, hearing this now, it is because the window is open. You may feel unqualified. You may feel tired. You may feel unsure if you are enough. God says you are not being asked to be more than you are. You are being asked to be exactly who you already are. There is power in your presence. There is comfort in your voice. There is purpose in your timing. Stay with this message. Something final is being prepared, and it involves you. Pause for a moment. Do not rush past this second, because what is about to be revealed explains why your heart has felt unsettled lately. God says the person who needs your help is closer than you think, so close that you may have ignored the signs, assuming someone else would step in. But no one else was meant to. They are standing at a quiet breaking point, not loud, not dramatic, just tired in a way words cannot fully describe. They have been asking silent questions at night. Questions they do not speak out loud because they do not want to appear weak. They wonder if their life still matters to anyone. They wonder if their efforts have meaning. They wonder if they should keep going exactly as they are. This is where you come in. God says you were chosen because you are a bridge, a living reminder that they are not alone in this world. Your timing is not random. Your awareness is not accidental. You do not need to fix them. You do not need to rescue them. You simply need to reach them. The shocking truth is this: your smallest action will arrive at the most critical moment of their life. A moment when one kind signal changes the direction of their thoughts. A moment when despair loosens its grip. God says this connection was written long before you recognized it. You were placed where you are so that when the moment arrived, you would feel the nudge instead of ignoring it. If you have felt a strange pull toward checking on someone, that is not imagination. If a name keeps returning to your mind without effort, that is not coincidence. If your heart feels heavy for someone without knowing why, that is not random. This is assignment. This is trust. God says when you step forward, something will unlock for both of you. They will feel relief. You will feel alignment. Do not underestimate how powerful being chosen truly is. This message is still unfolding. Stay with it. Pause for a moment. This is not the part where you listen casually. This is the part where something hidden finally speaks. God says there is a person connected to you who has reached a silent breaking point. Not loud, not dramatic, silent. They stopped asking for help because they felt like a burden. They stopped explaining because no one truly listened. They started believing that being strong meant being alone. And here is the shocking truth. You were placed in their life as a signal, not a solution. A reminder, not a rescuer. A light, not a lecture. God says they are watching you more than you realize. Not in obsession, in hope. They look at how you speak, how you stay calm when things feel heavy, how you continue even when answers are delayed. They believe if someone like you can still stand, maybe they can. 2. This is why your presence matters more than your words. This is why your timing is sacred. This is why this message found you now and not later. God says do not underestimate the power of consistency. You showing up as yourself is already doing more than you know. Your kindness has been noticed in rooms you were never told about. There was a moment recently when they almost gave up on something important. Not life, hope. And at that exact moment, your name crossed their mind. Not because you promised anything, but because you represent stability in a world that feels unstable. God says this connection was written long before either of you understood it. It is not accidental. It is not temporary. Something meaningful is forming quietly, without noise, without announcements, without pressure. And when this unfolds fully, you will look back at this moment and realize this was the confirmation you didn't ask for, but needed. Stay present. Stay aware. This story is not finished yet. Pause for a moment. Not because the message is ending, but because something important is about to land in your heart. God says the reason you are still here, still listening, is because this part was written with you in mind. Many heard the words. Few stayed. You stayed. There is a person connected to your life who is silently reaching the edge of their strength. They have not said it out loud. They have not asked for help. But heaven has heard what their lips could not speak. God says this clearly. You are the interruption to their breaking point. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Sooner than you think. This is why your path has felt delayed. This is why certain doors did not open when you expected them to. Timing was being protected, not denied. What you will say to this person will feel ordinary to you, but to them, it will feel like rescue. A reminder that they are not invisible. Proof that someone noticed. God says do not underestimate your voice. Do not underestimate your presence. Do not underestimate the moment you are about to step into. There is a shift that begins when chosen people act without being asked. That shift does not announce itself loudly. It moves quietly, deeply, permanently. And when you look back, you will realize something powerful. The moment you helped them was the moment your own life began to change direction. Stay with this. The final clarity is closer than you think. Pause here. This moment is not moving forward until you understand why you are still listening. God says there is a reason this message refuses to let you go. You have heard many voices before, many words, many promises. But this one stays because it is connected to something unfinished in your life. There is a person tied to your destiny who is struggling silently right now. They are not loud about it. They are not asking for help. They are convincing themselves they can endure a little longer. And God says this is the shock you were not expecting. Their strength is running out at the same time your awareness is waking up. You were chosen not because you have answers. You were chosen because your heart responds when others turn away. You were chosen because you notice what is unsaid. This person believes they must carry everything alone. They believe no one would understand. They believe reaching out would change nothing. God says your role is not to fix them. Your role is to remind them they are not invisible. Even now, something inside you feels unsettled. That is not anxiety. That is alignment. The moment you acknowledge this calling, things begin to shift quietly. Conversations become meaningful. Timing becomes precise. Your presence starts to matter more than you realize. God says what you are about to do will feel ordinary to you, but to them, it will feel like rescue arriving at the last possible second. This is why you cannot scroll away. This is why your attention is being held. This is why this message feels personal. Stay here. What comes next completes what has been building all along.